Hi everyone, Emil Ahangazwitha here. I'll be your facilitator for the Google Certified Educator Level 1 Examination Preparation Workshop Institute that we're having through the Santa Ana Unified School District. I work here at the district office, and I'll be, as I mentioned, your facilitator and the course developer for this content, which is actually 20 hours in length, but what we've done is we've compressed it all into 16 hours by abbreviating some of the content and then flipping some of the content via these types of videos. So the idea here is for you to take a look at this video and before you come to the Institute so that we can have more time hands-on when we're together as opposed to you sitting and listening to me give you this lecture. The idea behind this introductory video is to kind of acclimate you with the process for getting your certification taken care of, and then we'll do a secondary part to this video, which will, or this video series, I should say, that'll give you a couple of tips and tricks about how to manipulate your operating system and your computers as efficiently as possible so that you can work efficiently during the workshop itself. So let's get started. So you can certainly visit our website at www.sausd.us/tech, or you can certainly get a hold of me through Twitter, which is where you'll find me most of the time. There's my Twitter handle online. I hope you're already using Twitter or Google Plus or some system to develop your digital personal learning network. And if you're not, we'll certainly talk about that as we move forward through the 16-hour workshop together. The workshop is being presented, sponsored, provided by the Learning Innovations with Technology Department. This is the EdTech team here on in our district office that's headed up by Ms. Alexandra Ito, who's the director of the organization, who will be present at the workshop, and we'll also have other representatives from the department there to meet you and provide you with some support, and they'll be the ones that will be supporting you throughout the school year when it comes to the use of Google Apps for education. Now, the purpose of the workshop is threefold. First is to get you some training, some experience with using all of the apps that will be assessed on the GCE Level 1 examination. It's also to get you some practice using those tools, and then lastly to provide you with some insight and some preparation for the actual certification process itself. There are 5 types of certifications that Google offers currently for educators. And this particular exam covers the first certification, which is Google Certified Educator Level 1, as does this workshop. So that's all the content we're going to be looking at, is the information that will be covered in that one exam. Then there's a Level 2 exam, a little bit more expensive. It's referred to as the advanced level, but really it's more like a continuation of Level 1. Yes, it does go into some of the apps a little bit more in depth, but it covers a lot of other apps that we're not going to be dealing with as much in the Level 1 course content. The other 3 types are the Education Certified Trainer, and obviously I think the title says it all. If you want to become a officially sanctioned trainer through Google, you'd need to complete that exam as well. And then we have this thing called the Certified Innovator, which we can talk about a little bit more in the course content. And then lastly, there's the one for the IT administrators, which is called the Certified Administrator examination. But again, this course is all about Level 1, the fundamentals of Google. The workshop, as I mentioned, is 16 hours. It is an intensive, meaning that we're going to go right from the get start. There's a lot of stuff to cover, and we're going to try to make it as meaningful and as appropriate as possible for you. But it's likely that you're probably going to be overwhelmed at some point or another because we are covering a lot of stuff. But just please be aware that the course content, as I mentioned earlier, is 20 hours, but we've compressed some of it. And you're going to have access to all of the course content beyond the workshops themselves, and I'll explain that to you in just a few moments here. So let's talk a little bit about the exam itself that you'll be taking. No, you won't be taking the examination during the actual workshop itself. You'll need to slot some time on your own to take the examination. And as I already mentioned, this is only for Google Certified Educator or GCE 1. And to become certified in GCE 1, you just need to pass the examination, which is obviously good news. Now, there are other things that you'll need to do for the other types of examinations, but for this first one, you just got to pass the test, which is great news, obviously. But before you take the exam itself, I strongly recommend that you actually use the system, use the tools. with real children or with your real colleagues. Some of the folks that are participating in this workshop are not necessarily classroom educators. They might be district level administrators or classified managers or classified employees. And so I recommend that before you actually go forward and take the exam, that you take some time and actually use this stuff so that it becomes ingrained as a matter of practice, not just as a matter of knowledge points for you to be able to regurgitate during a test. Now, if you're already pretty fairly adept when it comes to Google Apps for Education, yeah, you'll probably be fine as soon as we're done with this course for you to take the examination if you'd like to. But if you don't feel like you've got your sea legs with Google Apps yet, I recommend after the course you take some time, actually use the system, use the different apps, play with the apps, and then actually go in and register for the exam itself. The course content that we're going to be using is broken into 13 different units, and at the end of each unit we're going to get a little practice test. And the practice tests are designed to kind of give you some insight into the types of questions you'll be exposed to in the actual exam itself. These are all legit. These are all released sample items from Google themselves, so I'm not breaking any rules or anything like that. But the practice tests, in my opinion, are actually going to be a little bit more difficult than the exam questions that you're going to be taking. I've designed them to be just a little bit more challenging. So if you fare well with the practice test, you're going to knock them dead on the actual examination itself. So 13 units, and at the end of each of the units, we'll be taking a quick practice test. Not a big test, just maybe 5, 6, or 7 questions, just to kind of get your feet wet and for you to be exposed to the conventions of the test questions themselves. Throughout the tests also, you'll be participating in multiple performance tasks. As a matter of fact, that's the part that takes the longest. So there'll be a couple of parts to the test. The first one will be some objective questions, multiple choice, fill in the blank, matching, that kind of stuff. But then the majority of the test is about you actually doing things. And we'll show you some examples in this video as we move forward. So here are some of the exam basics. First of all, the GCE Level 1 costs $10. The good news is that if you successfully complete the 16-hour workshop with us, the Learning Innovations with Technology department will take care of your exam registration fee for this first test. At the end of the course, you'll be receiving an email with a voucher code and some instructions, a link to where to go to register for the assessment, and we'll cover that first attempt, and hopefully only attempt on the for the GCE Level 1 test for you. Once you register for the assessment, what will happen is the organization that does the assessment, which I believe is named Criterion Assessment with a K, will spin up a demo version of Google Apps that will have a whole bunch of materials pre-made for you to use in your performance tasks. And the idea there is that you need to know that just because you register doesn't mean you're ready to take the test. It takes 24 hours for them to spin up that instance of Google Apps that you'll be using to take the actual assessment itself. But once you start the test, you've got 7 days to finish it. Now, you can register for the test for up to a year from the date you get the actual voucher itself. So once you get the voucher, you've got 1 year to register. But once you register, you've got 24 hours to wait until the instance of Google Apps that's specific for you gets spun up. And then once that gets spun up and you start the assessment, you've got exactly 7 days to complete the assessment. And there are no exceptions to that. Now, before you actually start the assessment, you'll be asked to sign a non-disclosure act, which is that NDA up on the screen right now. It's simply Google's way and Criterion's way of making sure that you understand that, you know, everybody, we don't want to compromise the integrity of this assessment. And so you agree certainly not to disclose any of the questions or any of the items on the assessment that you're going to be exposed to. The test does take 3 hours, and even if you're adept with Google Apps, it's probably going to take you 2.5 hours or so. I've heard some people can do it in 2 hours and 15 minutes or 2 hours and 20 minutes, but most folks will take about 2 hours 30 to 2 hours 55 minutes or so, and you have a total of 3 hours. And that might seem like you don't really need it, but you'll see when you get actually into the performance tasks, there's a whole bunch of things, that lots of steps that you'll need to complete, and so you're going to need to take that time. The good news is that it's an open book exam, so even though we don't encourage you to go out there and, you know, find the answers while you're taking the test, you can if you want to. Just recognize, of course, that the longer you take looking up the answers or figuring it out, the less time you have to actually take the test. So it's best for you to really be a practitioner, so that some of the performance tasks and some of the questions that are asked to you have already become internalized, and you just know it because you use it all the time. You will also need to have a working webcam. That's because at the start of the test, they will take a picture of you. And then throughout the test, at intermittent periods, they will take snapshots of you again to make sure that you are the person who's taking the test. You didn't hire a good old Emil here to come and do the test for you. So just recognize that your device that you're going to work off of will require a webcam. And you'll also be required to work off of the Chrome web browser. The assessment is only available through the Chrome web browser. Now, I've already told you that there are a whole bunch of objective questions, and we've also covered the fact that there are going to be lots of performance tasks that you'll need to complete. But the last things I want to mention to you is that you'll need to actually recertify. Once you get certified, you'll have to take the test again in 24 months. And the idea is that if you know anything about Google Apps for Education, they're constantly adding things, taking things away. And so Google wants to make sure that you're fresh and boned up on the most recent iteration of the Google Apps for Education suite. So every 24 months you'll need to re-up your certification. And then the information that you're seeing up on the screen with 1460, 360, that has to do with retakes. So if you, for whatever reason, take this examination and you bomb and you have 14 days, in 14 days you can take the test again. And if you bomb again, then you have to wait 60 days and take the test again. And then if you bomb yet again, then you have to wait 360 days to take the test yet one more time. Now, I've been teaching this for a while now, and I've never had anybody actually fail, which is good news. I'm a 100% pass rate, but there's a first time for everything. So I hope you'll take this certification process seriously and enjoy the workshop, but recognize the test isn't exactly easy. Even though it's the fundamentals level, it's level 1, it's not an easy test. There's work to be done. The good news is that even after the workshop, you'll still have access to all of the workshop contents, including the slide decks, including the notes, including the resources we'll be sharing with you, the videos and we're going to be sharing with you. So you can go through and do some self-studying if you'd like to. And all of that content will be made available to you at this little website we've created, which can be found at bit.ly/GAFE101SAUSD. GAFE stands for Google Apps for Education. GAFE101SAUSD. Notice there's no www in the front of that URL. So it's bit.ly/GAFE101SAUSD, and that's where you're going to find all the content. You can actually go there right now, and this is what you'll see. It's a pretty simple website, right? You will see some introductory content for you. The workshop is broken into 3 different themes, and then within each of the themes we have a series of units, and then within each of the units we have a series of activities and lessons and so forth. And on each of the units you'll also see the slide deck is available for you, which is certainly going to be helpful for you to go back and look through the slides just as a reminder or refresher. Now you'll notice if you go to it before the workshop that you'll only see 2 things available for you, two pages on the navigation bar of this particular website. That's because we're using Google Sites, and Google Sites has a great feature called page level permissions, which allow you to control who gets to see what and when. So when you actually arrive at the workshop, you're going to not only see the home page and the resources page, but you're going to see a whole bunch of other things, including this stuff. When you hover over resources, you'll see that we have a Google 101 group that's ready for you. We've got under each of the themes, we have all of the units, and within each of the units, you'll have all the lessons and all the access to all the content, the workshop content available for you. But this won't be turned on until day 1 of the workshop. Meanwhile, you've got access to the home page and the resources page, in which case if you go to the resources page, you'll see that I've taken content from the various topics that we're going to cover throughout the course, and I've provided you with direct links in them. Now keep in mind, so for example, here under the Gmail section, these aren't the only resources available for Gmail. There are tons of resources. But these resources specifically are germane to our workshop. So don't think that these are, exhaustive. It's not an exhaustive list of resources. These are just the resources that we'll be using in context of our work together during the 16-hour intensive workshop. And again, how do you access this? Just direct your browser to bit.ly/GAFE101SAUSD. So let's take some time now and take a look at some of the sample questions just to kind of acclimate you with what you can expect when it's time to take the test. If you go to the website and you click on the resources link in the navigation bar, you'll see that under the Certified Educator section, there's a link that says Sample Exam Questions and Performance Tasks. And when you click on that, you'll get access to some of these samples. So let's take a look at them now. So here's a sample objective question. In this case, as you can see, here is the scenario. Students in your history class are having a difficulty understanding the significance of World War II. What activities could help students get more engaged? Now, this isn't multiple choice. This is actually checkbox type question. So there isn't one correct answer. There's multiple correct answers. In this case, they're telling you that there are two correct answers, so you need to choose two of these. You see, now in the practice exams during the course that we'll be taking together, I've actually made it a lot more difficult for you, because I'm not even going to tell you how many options you have to pick. It could be just one correct answer, but all four could be correct as well. So that's one of the examples of what I mean when I say that the practice tests are more rigorous than the actual questions you'll be faced with when it comes to the exam itself. Here's another example of an objective test. In this case, it'll be a drag and drop kind of a matching assessment, where the idea is that you're going to need to drag and drop to match the feature, in this case of Gmail, with the benefit of using the particular tool that's involved here. So these three are features of Gmail. You may not have even heard of these, like canned responses, and we'll get to this in the course content itself. Anytime, anywhere access and labels. Now, most of you probably know about anytime, anywhere access, but very few people use the labels system in Gmail, or very few people know about canned responses, where you can create a response that you want to use over and over again in response to students or employees or staff members or something to that effect. And you just do a quick shortcut on your keyboard, and a full response gets loaded in. And the idea is that on the right hand side you'll see what the benefits are of using this particular feature, and your job will be to grab the feature, drag it over to the benefit, or grab the benefit, drag it over to the feature itself. Here's an example of a performance-based scenario that you might need to engage in. So in this case, here is the scenario itself, and the idea is that your students have answered a few questions about an upcoming presidential election and submitted their results in a Google form. You want to review their opinions to prepare, for, accidentally clicked forward. You want to review their opinions to prepare for an upcoming class. So here are the things that you'll need to do in this performance exam. First, you're going to need to access the form, which is called Election Opinions, and view the results in a spreadsheet. Now remember, I told you they're going to spin up an instance of Google Apps for you, and they're going to have a bunch of example content in there for you to work with. One of them, which will be a form that they've already created called Election Opinions. Your job is going to be A, find it, and B, to look at the results from the form, but in a spreadsheet, not in the natural form results themselves. Then the next thing you'll need to do is to sort that sheet, the spreadsheet, based on students' first name in ascending, not descending, alphabetical order. So if you're already familiar with sheets, you know what I'm talking about. If you are not familiar with sheets, you're going to learn about all of this stuff during the course work when we meet. And then the third thing you'll need to do is to create a pie chart that represents who the student selected as their favorite candidate using column F of the spreadsheet. How do you create a pie chart from a spreadsheet? We'll show you when you come to the workshop itself. Here is another performance-based scenario, again, just to kind of give you an example of what this might look like. As you can see, the scenario is listed for you right over yonder. You want to be sure that students are able to view your award winners broadcast at a later date. You decide to share the video again via your YouTube channel to maximize views. So here are the things that you need to do. Step one, you need to, again, first find the award winners video in your YouTube channel, right? Not just by searching for it in YouTube, but you need to go to your channel and see where it is. So there's a couple of quick little views that you'll need to change over to find it. Then you'll need to use annotations, which is a feature of YouTube, to add a title, an overlay on top of the your video that says "We won," and only have it last for 5 seconds. And then lastly, you're going to share that video with a group using a Gmail address. So this isn't just using Gmail. This is about creating a group that has a group email address. In this case, the group email address is nfsschool@myeducert.org. So just some samples of the kinds of performance tasks that you'll need to engage in throughout the course. Throughout the exam. Okay, that's it for the first part of this introductory video series. The next part is going to be all about digital literacy, showing you some tricks and tips for how to use your device and keyboard and mouse and operating system to be as efficient as you can with your system, your tool, during the workshop, and so that you can get the most out of the workshop. If you're already pretty adept with using computers and operating systems, probably don't even need to watch it. If you have time though, why not? You might pick up a thing or two. Otherwise, we will see you at the workshop, and on behalf of the Learning Innovations with Technology and the district office, we really want to commend you for taking the time out to come and participate in this workshop series. And again, if you have any questions, you can certainly give me a holler on Twitter @Anhang Garza. Thanks.